counting down to a back-to-work order.
That should be a concern for Albertans beyond the scope of the teacher strike.
Striking teachers look at their legal options. More clarity about Calgary's election. This one candidate for mayor wants a recount. And a competitor on the Olympic bobsleigh track.
I can just focus on the task at hand.
And on Jeopardy.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Ian White.
Good afternoon. Still no sign of a deal between the province and Alberta's teachers. Barring any change over the weekend, back-to-work legislation will be tabled on Monday. Mark Villani is live in the newsroom. So, Mark, walk us through what this legislation means for teachers if it passes.
Well, Ian, the province is calling it the Back to School Act, a bill that could force more than 50,000 teachers back into classrooms within days. Now, this is a rare and rapidly moving measure, one that labor experts say could override parts of the province's own labor relations code. Now, the legislation is expected to move quickly through the House, with each reading lasting as little as an hour. Mount Royal University professor Christian Cook says the province is framing the strike as an urgent crisis, claiming students face irreparable harm if classrooms remain closed. Now, if passed, the bill would make the strike illegal, compelling teachers back to work within about 48 hours. Cook says the government also could impose binding arbitration, meaning a third-party arbiter would decide the terms of a contract. But teachers could still fight the legislation in court, a legal challenge that, if successful, could restore their right to strike again. The Alberta Teachers Association says it hasn't seen the details of the bill and that it's seeking legal counsel to determine next steps as it still pushes for negotiations.
See the use of the notwithstanding clause that has a direct impact on negotiations for every union across this province. It has an impact on Albertans that we are going to suddenly start using clauses within legislation that restrict our rights. And that should be a concern for Albertans beyond the scope of the teacher strike.
Now, if the province uses the notwithstanding clause to force teachers back to work, the Alberta Federation of Labour warns that unions across the province will mobilize. It's already preparing for a day of action on Tuesday. Ian.
Thanks, Mark. And it's not just teachers the province will be ordering back to work. All public service employees are being told to prepare to return to the office full-time starting January 1st. The hybrid work policy is ending. It was introduced during the pandemic and allowed Alberta public service employees to work from home up to 2 days a week. The province says as of August, over 12,000 Alberta public service employees, or 44% of the workforce, had hybrid arrangements. Safety concerns at a Calgary daycare have prompted the province to step in. The government says there are significant concerns about the supervision of younger children at Zebra Crossing Academy. Its two facilities are now on probation until January 23rd. The capacity for Zebra Crossing is being reduced and it can no longer care for children under the age of 3. Those changes will impact 82 spaces. The province is encouraging families to call the Child Care Connect line to find alternate care. A 79-year-old man has been charged with aggravated assault. It follows a fight between two men in the parking lot of a Northwest McDonald's on Tuesday afternoon. The injured man, also in his 70s, initially declined medical attention. A few hours later, an ambulance was called to the scene and took him to hospital, where he died. Police believe the two men knew each other. An autopsy has been done, but police say the cause of death remains undetermined. Investigators would like to speak to witnesses who haven't already come forward. And Calgary police are investigating a stabbing in Fish Creek Park. Investigators say a man arrived at the South Health campus just before 7 last night. He told staff he'd been stabbed by an unknown man while walking in the park. The victim was taken to another hospital for surgery, where he remains in stable condition. Police continue to investigate.
An historic Calgary restaurant is struggling after a series of break-ins. Police say there have been 5 break-ins at the ranch between September 10th and October 17th. They have all occurred in the evening or overnight and through a different door or window each time. The thief usually takes small amounts of alcohol and then walks out the door. So far, nobody has been taken into custody, but some photos from security cameras have been released. Management say they are mostly concerned about the building.
It is like all the windows, so again, it's a heritage site, so it's a bit more expensive to fix these, and it's quite a few thousand.
Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. The results of Calgary's election are now official, and it features 10 new councillors and a new mayor. But a recount has been requested for the mayor's chair, with fewer than 600 votes separating the top 2 candidates. Jordan Canigan joins us from City Hall. And Jordan, the results are official, but we could still see some changes.
Ian, and that's because Sonia Sharp has formally requested a recount in the mayor's race. Just 581 votes separate Sharp from the current mayor-elect Jeremy Farkas. And Sonia Sharp and her team says that a recount is needed to strengthen trust in the election and results. In a letter to Calgary's returning officer, Sharp says all mayoral ballots should be looked at again. In the meantime, though, it was orientation day for many of the new faces around council chambers. That includes Mike Jamieson in Ward 12, where a recount also took place. His lead was just 29 votes before the recount. That increased to a 59-vote victory.
Nail-biter, I would say a roller coaster. The votes went up and down, and it was extremely close. Maybe even closest in Calgary history, and we definitely made an impact in Ward 12.
Now, any possible recount will have to be completed by noon on Wednesday, but Sharp's team also says that it is prepared to request a judicial recount should that be necessary. The mayor and council will be sworn in on Wednesday night. Ian?
Jordan, thanks very much. Danielle joins us now. We are on the cusp of the weekend. It's looking pretty good, maybe a little bit cooler though, right?
Yes, so we got to a high of 18 today so far. That's pretty high for late October. So we're not going to have that in our longer range forecast at all. Tomorrow will still be very nice, though. We will get some sunshine tomorrow. It just won't be this warm. But this warm, this 18, came with some gusty conditions. If you were outside, you definitely noticed the wind. 50 kilometers per hour is the gust registering right now at the airport. All right, for this evening, you're still looking at gusts around 40 kilometers per hour and 13 degrees. In fact, those gusts will probably continue up until about 1 or 2 in the morning. Then it will start to calm down in the rest of the overnight hours and through tomorrow morning, and it will be less windy tomorrow afternoon, 30 kilometers per hour. This comes with lots of sunshine tomorrow, but not quite as warm. You're looking at a high of 13 degrees. Sunday, you will notice the cool down, absolutely. All right, that's your 24-hour forecast brought to you by 5th Avenue Volkswagen, where you can win your ride. See dealer for details or visit 5thavvw.com. Ian?
Thanks, Danielle. We all know it's coming. It will eventually get really cold here. Next, the Compassionate Campaign by a pair of university students to help vulnerable Calgarians. And meet the couple who have defied death to help endangered animals in Africa. Also, if you have a news tip, text us at 10400. Two students at the University of Calgary are collecting winter clothing for the city's vulnerable population. Nathan Barrett and Nikhil Srivalsan are the founders of Compassion Calgary. The students say while it's not snowing yet, winter is coming, and they know how great the need is for upwards of 3,000 of the city's unhoused. The two are asking for new or gently used winter coats, hats, mitts, and hoodies, along with anything else that could keep someone warm when the temperature drops.
That's the name for our project. It's Compassion Calgary. Compassion is contagious. If people see that we are acting altruistically, it just naturally translates, and people want to help out in some way or in any form.
The students hope to collect 1,000 winter clothing items by the end of the month. For more information, head to our website, ctvnews.ca/Calgary. And the annual new and used ski sale is underway at Max Bell Centre. The event is a favorite for those wanting to save some bucks on gear. There are over 20,000 items suited for downhill skiers, snowboarders, and cross-country skiers. Funds raised help support the Calgary Ski Club, the Canadian Ski Patrol Calgary Zone, and the Lake Louise Athletic Development Association. Doors are open until 10 tonight. The sale wraps up Sunday afternoon. And of course, all the skiers and snowboarders out there are hoping for snow. They might have to just wait a little bit longer.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but, you know, we're looking at snow for the mountaintops, so we're starting to build a base here.
So they will get it then.
Snow for the mountaintops, yeah, not skiable just yet in most cases, but snow for the mountaintops this weekend for sure, because it's going to cool down. And it's a little windy out there, as you can see by the camera bouncing around, but that's a look outside with our live shot. Mainly cloudy, but there is some sun peeking through here and there. And check this out. We talked about it, the chance that we could crack 20 today. And there we go. We just did in the city. It says 20 in Calgary, close to that in Drumheller, 20 in Medicine Hat, and close to that in Lethbridge. So we have some excessive heat, and that's really thanks to the winds that's helping get those temperatures even higher for today. So high teens, low 20s, late October. Not so bad. Here's a look at the gusts, though. 74 kilometers per hour is the maximum wind gust in Pincher Creek, 50 for Lethbridge, 52 for Medicine Hat. Medicine Hat, you'll drop down to about 40 for tomorrow, but this is what we're looking at in these areas for tomorrow. And for us in Calgary, 30 kilometer per hour gusts. So it will be less windy, just a little breezy for tomorrow, and certainly less warm. So while we'll lose the wind, we'll also start to lose some of the heat. It'll be fairly gradual. So tomorrow will still be a nice day, just not as warm, and then you'll really notice the cool down by Sunday. Okay, yeah, a lot going on the BC side, and that's been happening for this entire work week. But the story is now is this is actually going to finally spill over for the weekend. It's really going to impact central and northern Alberta. They're going to see some snowfall. A good amount of snow, but what we're looking at in the south is mainly a rain event, except further into the higher elevations. Snow level at about 1,600 meters is what we're looking at. So let me play it through here. Okay, there's the snow for the mountaintops and very high elevations. And then you can see in Calgary, we're looking at sunshine for pretty much all of tomorrow. The clouds will start to move in near the supper hours. And then this changes the game. So this is late Saturday. This changes the game by the time we get into Sunday. So you can see the snowfall for the higher elevations still, and you can see pockets of rain possible, especially as we get into Sunday morning. So Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then we'll be on the outer edge of this, so we likely won't see any rainfall Sunday afternoon. And then check out the system that will start to, especially on Monday, deliver snowfall Edmonton and north. And it's going to draw down some much cooler air, which you will definitely notice, which is why your longer range forecast is not 20, that's for sure. 13 degrees is the high tomorrow, so still nice, mainly sunny skies, clouds rolling in by the supper hours, and then showers starting late Saturday night that will carry into Sunday morning and then clear out in the afternoon somewhat. 10 degrees is our high for Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're looking at single-digit highs, okay? Of course, everyone's asking about Halloween. 10 degrees is the forecast temperature for Halloween at this point. Some models are suggesting even warmer, but I want to keep your expectations around 10 for now because that's the most likely scenario.
Thanks, Danielle. It was a TV commercial aimed at millions of Americans, but it got the attention of one in particular named Trump. Still to come, Alberta's premier response to Ontario's decision to put the pro-free trade commercial on hold. Some surprising inflation numbers from the U.S. today. Joining me is Faisal Karmali, portfolio manager with the Popowich Karmali Advisory Group. And Faisal, there is a gap between inflation in Canada and inflation in the U.S.
Yeah, there is a gap right now, and it's a bit higher in the U.S. than in Canada. But keep in mind, what economists were expecting in the U.S. didn't happen. In fact, economists were expecting a 3.1% increase in inflation they delivered 3%. Now, when you start seeing slowing inflation, that means the economy is slowing down. And because Canadians have so much dependency on the U.S. economy, that could trickle its way through to Canada as well. So be prepared to see a slowdown in the U.S. economy is actually a slowdown in the Canadian economy, and that doesn't bode well when you think of the long-term impacts.
And there's another office tower downtown that will be converted into a residential building.
135,000 square feet. We talk about like the mixed studios, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom suites all the way up. They're expected to have this put out by 2027. And this is located at the Barclay Center, which is 606 4th Street Southwest. Now it's 166 units, but it's one of many that are coming out. When you look at affordability, 27% of this project is going to be for affordable housing, and the rest is going to be in the open market. That being said, no short-term relief on pricing if the market stays the way it is. If we see more supply coming into the market and the demand stays the same, watch the prices of condos and housing in the downtown core fall. But right now, in the short run, no impact on the downside, at least when it comes to your housing price.
Some interesting changes downtown. Faisal, thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Premier Danielle Smith says she agrees with Ontario's decision to pull a TV ad that got under Donald Trump's skin.
Rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
The commercial, running on American networks, features President Ronald Reagan talking about free trade and criticizing tariffs. The ad prompted President Trump to call off trade talks with Canada today. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says the campaign will be paused on Monday, but only after the ads have aired in the U.S. in the first 2 games of the World Series. Meantime, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew disagrees, saying the ads are effective and Trump's tariffs go against Reagan's legacy. The federal government making a multi-million-dollar funding announcement today for black businesses in the prairies. Ottawa is committing $15.2 million over 5 years to the Black Entrepreneurs Program Ecosystem Fund. Edmonton MP and federal cabinet minister Eleanor Olszewski made the announcement at the Africa Centre. She says black Canadians continue to face systemic barriers to starting their own businesses.
Racism and discrimination, lack of access to capital and resources and networks and opportunities, all of these things are huge impediments to successes.
When you invest in us, you don't just invest in entrepreneurs. You are investing in community builders, job creators.
This new funding will also help not-for-profit organizations deliver training, services, and other supports to black-led businesses. A development in the labor dispute between the town of Coaldale and its workers. The Alberta Union of Provincial Employees says the Labor Relations Board has ruled in its favor after the union made a bad faith bargaining complaint. The board has ordered the town to return to the bargaining table next week. More than 40 employees have been locked out for 7 weeks. Alberta teachers are bracing for that back-to-work order. Here's Tara Nelson with a look ahead to CTV News at 6.
Hi, Ian. The province will table the legislation on Monday, and it's expected to pass quickly. Coming up at 6, how some local teachers are feeling about being forced back to work without their main issues of class size and complexity ever being resolved. Also ahead, a one-on-one interview with Calgary's new mayor-elect, Jeremy Farkas. I ask him about his #1 priority and other challenges that he is about to face. We'll see you at 6. Ian.
Thanks, Tara. Beverly and Derek Joubert have spent a lifetime documenting and fighting to save wildlife in Africa. They've made dozens of films for National Geographic and will speak Sunday afternoon at the Jack Singer Concert Hall in Calgary. Joining me are Beverly and Derek Joubert. Welcome to Calgary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So why is it so important for people in Canada to get an understanding of the work you have done in Africa?
Well, I think it's important for all of us around the world to be conservationists at heart. Without that, we're going to lose everything. We're going to lose the planet. We're going to lose all of these great natural spaces that you have so much of in Canada. But we can lose it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, truly.
Now, of all the species at risk in Africa, is there one in particular that you're especially concerned about?
Well, it always starts with the predators. That's what we've noticed, and that's why we started the Big Cat Initiative at National Geographic. As there's human encroachment, they're the first to be taken out, and that makes it easier for man, to go and snare and catch animals for the bushmeat trade. But then rhinos will become extinct if we don't assist. And Derek and I, obviously, I think it was about 8 years ago, we realized that rhinos were being exterminated in southern Africa. And the only thing that you can do is obviously, go and talk to where the end of the trade route is, which is going to Asia. But we felt we didn't have enough time. And so we went straight into action. We spoke to the two governments, and we darted these rhino and took them over to secret locations in Botswana so we could protect them.
To see my extended interview with Beverly and Derek Joubert, visit ctvnews.ca/Calgary. The warm weather in southern Alberta was likely the envy of the country today, but it will be a bit cooler tomorrow. Right now in Calgary, mostly cloudy and 20. Danielle has the weekend details coming up. So in other parts of Canada, they're looking at Alberta and looking at the temperatures, and they think, hey, that's incredible for October.
Yes, because, okay, 7 persons, 20.5 right now. That's one of the hot spots in the entire country. And then Kinsella, which is closer to Edmonton, also 20.5. But Medicine Hat is at 19.9, and Calgary is at 19.5.
Wow.
So we got some heat. So, for this we round up, obviously. So they're saying 20 degrees currently. Today's high, 20. Normal is 9, so we're nowhere near normal. Way above that. Okay, let's look at the 3-day forecast here because the cool down is beginning. Tomorrow will still be very nice, very bright. The winds will be fairly calm at just up to 30 kilometers per hour and still in the teens. Barely, but still in the teens at 13. Then we start to get to the 10s for Sunday. Showers are possible in the morning, more cloud cover on Sunday, and then bright again by Monday. But for Monday and much of next week, our daytime highs will be in those single digits.
Thank you, Danielle. She has a major challenge coming up in February, the Winter Olympics. But before that, Cynthia Appia is part of another competition, Jeopardy.
I'm used to being in front of the camera with my sport, and I think some of the competitors that I was with on the show kind of alluded to that as well, as maybe being a little bit of a safety net, that I didn't have to worry about the lights and the cameras being in my eyes. I could just focus on the task at hand.
The Calgary bobsleigh athlete is a lifelong fan of the TV quiz show and finally got the chance to compete. Appia has already taped her appearance on the show and can't say how it turned out. It airs next Tuesday. She's in training on the bobsleigh track for the Milan Cortina Olympics, which begin February 6th. Thanks for joining us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.